So now we're going to look at that specifically from the lens of Canvas. So I'm going to pop into my Canvas course. And you'll notice that the first time that professors, teachers, students get into Lucid, I recommend that they go into a course and they log in using the Lucid shortcut on the left-hand side. You'll only have one. I am in our instance, which has a lot of practice from our development team. When you click on the Lucid icon from the left-hand corner of any course, this will redirect you to your Lucid dashboard. And if it's your first time logging in, it will prompt you to create an account. So you'll just follow the flow for creating an account, and then you can jump in and start exploring Lucid in a separate tab. The reason I recommend having students log in this way is because that way, if they experience any difficulty, it's not right before they're trying to complete an assignment, or it's not in the middle of a live lesson. So I would have students and professors. This is how I would log in, by clicking the Explore button the first time, following that login flow. That will automatically create your Lucid account for you and connect it to your Canvas account. So then moving forward, anytime you try and access Lucid from within Canvas, it will automatically direct you there because your account has been connected. You won't have to worry about logging in, creating an account, anything like that after that first time you have created your account. At the end, if anybody has any questions specific to creating your account, I'll make sure to kind of go through that whole process for you and answer any questions for you. So, but since time is always of the essence, I'm going to talk about the two main ways that I would use Lucid to enhance your Canvas course. The first one is found in the rich content editor. You would use this anytime you want to collaborate or send out a view-only version of something that you've made that you want students to view in order to deliver content to them. So you can do it wherever the rich content editor lives. I often am putting it inside of a page. For this example, we are going to do a discussion post. So we are going to kickstart a lecture with a science-related discussion post. So I'm just going to say a science discussion starter. These boards are a great way, especially in larger lecture halls or before a small discussion, to get students kind of thinking about it and preparing before an actual verbal discussion. So what you're going to do to add that collaboration space is click on the black L from the rich content editor. So everybody should see it. When you click on it, if you haven't already activated your account, it will then send you down that flow of creating or connecting your Lucid account. And once you've already done that, just like you can see here, it's going to open up your Lucid library. From within here, you'll notice that I have all the folders I've ever created in my dashboard, all of my documents. For this one though, I'm just going to pick something on the fly. I haven't created something already. So I'm going to come down to a blank Lucid Spark document. I'm going to give it a title. And maybe I can organize with the date, although this requires that I know the date, and I know that we're even in September. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And then when I create the board, it will bring this view. This is where the magic happens. You can select for it to be editable, meaning that everybody will see everything. They will be able to make changes, and everybody gets to collaborate. Comment only, they can't change anything on your board, but they can right click or secondary click and add a comment on top of your content. And then finally, view only would be, hey, maybe I've created a historical timeline that I just want the students to be able to see and access to view. Then you would select view only. But the edit is where the magic happens. So I'm going to hit edit, and this will insert it directly on the board. So now You can start editing it within the rich content editor, but I think it's easier to come down and just go ahead and save and edit from that saved option. Keep in mind, as soon as you save and publish, students will be able to see the board and they will be able to get started with their collaborating, adding things to the board. So we have two different ideas here. Some people will only save and then publish the day of or right before their lesson or lecture. Other people forget to publish, so they'll save and publish right away, but they will set the date for publish at. So then that way it won't actually open up for the students until the day of that activity. So for today though, I don't have real students, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go right to save and publish. So now you'll see that the Lucid Spark board is embedded directly onto the canvas. You'll notice that there is a full screen option in the bottom right-hand corner. I highly recommend using this and showing students this. This does not take you outside of Canvas. All it does is provide a full screen for editing, which makes it easier in a large collaboration. To return to Canvas, all you do is hit that button again or hit escape on your keyboard. And then, like I said, it didn't open up another tab. It just brought me into full screen mode. So I'm going to go ahead back into full screen mode, and I'm going to get started creating my discussion by dragging out a text box from the toolbar and asking my question. So, which scientist do you think had the biggest impact on society? A nice open-ended question, bound to get students to be thinking, collaborating, debating about who they think really is the most important and why. You'll notice when you click on the text, you have all those same features you're used to in other programs. You can change the font, the size, the color, all of that fun stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead, make it a little bit more fun and fancy. And then my biggest thing I recommend is you'll notice from the same formatting toolbar is the lock. Anybody who has worked in a collaborative space with students know that it is crucial to be able to lock things down. So anything you don't want the students to move, change, delete, make sure to click the lock so that now when they come here, you'll notice I can't delete it, move it, change it, etc. Now, before I send this out to students, I'm going to come down to my organizational pane from my toolbar, and I am going to click on the frames. I use frames to organize multiple activities on the board. So when I click on the frame, you'll notice that now I have crosshairs. So I'm just going to click and drag and kind of open up some space for where I want them to collaborate. If you're working with a really large group, you could potentially have multiple frames or use breakout boards, which I'll talk about in a second, to send maybe A through M in this frame and N through Z in this frame to break up the collaboration, because having too many people in one space collaborating would be overwhelming. Usually I recommend about 25 to 30 people in one collaboration space, and then breaking the other ones up into separate spaces. So this is not just a visual cue for students. This also automatically creates a table of contents. So that is the main reason that I have added this frame to the board. So I am going to click on my frame and of course lock it. And that table of contents is now created in the bottom right-hand corner. When I click on this, you can now see I didn't add this manually. It automatically added this. When students click on this, it will bring them to this discussion post. And then they can use the same toolbar on the left-hand side. They can start dragging out sticky notes and responding to your prompt. Again, everybody will see the sticky notes in real time as they're being added to the board. So I'm going to go ahead and create a second frame and use 2 fingers to scroll down on a trackpad or a right click on a mouse, a right click hold and a drag to scoop. And then I'm going to create a second frame. And you'll notice again that automatically adds to my table of contents. I can name my frame. And my table of contents is starting to be built. If you want to reorganize your table of contents, you can easily just click and drag and move these items as well. So I highly recommend placing frames and locking them around your content to help facilitate organization and structure as students are moving through multiple activities on the board. Now, you'll also notice coming here on the left-hand side, you saw we went over sticky notes. You can also drag out and add shapes to the board. You can use these blue nodes to pull out and quickly create a concept map using these shapes, typing inside of these shapes. And again, you have your formatting toolbar to change the color, the size, the font, all of that fun stuff inside of your shapes. You have different arrows that you can pull out, your organizational pane with some containers, tables, mind mapping tools. And then finally, at the bottom, you have your handy dandy annotation tool, so you can then write directly onto the canvas. Great when paired with an iPad and projection. So if you're writing out maybe a math teacher or professor, you're writing math problem, you never have enough space on your physical whiteboard. Now you can have as much space as you want. And then again, here is that highlight tool. You can import and just drag PDFs, images, whatever you would like from your desktop, drop it onto the canvas, and then you can extract each of these images, each of these pages as images, lock them down, and then you can be using the pen tool, the sticky notes to annotate and really dig deep into that article. So this is when you want to extract your thumbnail. You just click on the PDF, click extract thumbnails, and that's how you can pull them out as images for that annotation. So those are just a little bit of highlighting some of those tools on the left-hand side. I also mentioned breakout boards. Breakout boards are great for facilitating group work, independent workspaces. They are separate whiteboards connected to this main board. So I can create a breakout board. I can click on that breakout board. Let's say I wanted all of the students annotating and reading through different texts that they're going to then present to the rest of the group. Again, I could drag out that PDF, embed it in their workspace. Then if we were doing a jigsaw, I could say add text box with instructions saying, read through the article, analyze your section, create a presentation or a visual that you're going to give to the class. You can rename, so this might be group 1, and then this is a separate workspace for that group to go into, and then they can click back in the upper left-hand corner to go back to the main board. So within Canvas, I only need to attach one whiteboard, and it allows me to attach 50 additional separate workspaces. And then another thing, if you want all of the students working on the same template, once you've created the template, you can click the 3 dots and you can duplicate that. So now each breakout board that is created will have the template that you want them working on inside of their workspace. So breakout boards, again, are at the top of your toolbar right here. Now, before we dive into assignments, you'll notice up here, there's a couple tools I didn't mention yet. The first one is the 3 people. I highly recommend anytime students are collaborating in a board, always make yourself the facilitator by clicking on Make Me the Facilitator from the drop down of the 3 people. This gives you an additional facilitator panel. And I go to controls, and every single time I just, in routine, always do this, I'm going to lock down all of these tools. Now, only me, the teacher, can do the timer, the voting, private mode, all of those different things. So just kind of put that into your routine. always make yourself the facilitator, always toggle these on. Then for tools, during a live collaboration session, when students are in here, this will not be grayed out. And when you click take the lead, it forcibly pulls them to your view on the board. Great way to redirect. Now, moving over here, well, actually, before I do that, you'll also notice that you can turn collaborator cursors on and off. I highly recommend the first time showing students how to turn this off. Just leave it off. As the professor or teacher, a lot of times I do like it because I can see them moving throughout the board. It can be distracting for students. So just show them the first time, and then if they're logged in, it should remember that. So it should stay off unless they turn it back on. You can also turn show authors on and off for the board. That means that when it's toggled on, when you add a sticky note, the name of the user is on the bottom right-hand corner of that sticky note. When that is turned off, then that is taken off of the sticky note. Moving along, we have I like to call him my secret agent man. This is private mode. What this allows you to do is you can start a private mode, which when students are adding their sticky notes, I will just see a dark blue squiggly note for other people's responses. This is a great way to kickstart with an unbiased discussion first, and then you can end private mode and see all those sticky notes. So it allows them to respond without being impacted by seeing everybody else's just yet, but then we can still reveal them all and use those for our whole group discussion. You can start voting sessions. Voting sessions are really great. For example, in this activity, all of the students can be dragging out their all of the scientists that they think have the biggest impact. Then I could click and drag to highlight all those scientist stickies, and I can create a voting session on my currently selected sticky notes. I can give everybody one vote, and then you have some more advanced things if you want them to vote on more than just sticky notes. So you can have those advanced features and start that voting session. So now when students highlight, they get one vote, so they could vote on which scientists now from the group, not allowed to vote on their own, do they think had the biggest impact. And so again, now we started with that initial brainstorm of students sharing their opinion. Now we're starting to see those opinions coming together, and we're starting to highlight which of the group is getting the most votes. And we can then again use that for continuing research on those scientists, for a debate in class, etc. And then of course you saw me use the timer at the beginning. So I am bad at time management, as you can see, because we're getting close to the end of the session, and I haven't even talked about assignments. So you have a timer that you can set to keep yourself on pace for collaboration. So that was a long-winded collaboration using Lucid Spark inside of Canvas. One other thing, because I always forget to mention this, I briefly mentioned it, to move about the page, if you're on a trackpad, it's 2 fingers to go left, right, up, and down, or pinching with your fingers to zoom in and out. So pinch to zoom and 2 fingers on your trackpad to move around the board. If you're on a mouse, you right click and hold to move up and down and around, and you click on things with just your regular left-handed click. And then to zoom, you use your scroll wheel on a mouse. Okay, so very quickly, you can also work on assignment. You can assign assignments. This will take a template you've already created and push it out so each student gets their own copy and then can be graded in SpeedGrader. I usually recommend start in Lucid, find a template. You can go into the template library. There's all of our templates being used in industry as well as an education specific section. Choose a template that you would like to use. Everyone is familiar with a Venn diagram. You can edit, everything is customizable. You can change the colors, the size, the topic. So you can add your titles. Instead of topic, maybe I add instructions. Then once you're done, you can name it so it's easy to find. So maybe I'll name it assignment for this. So then like, the assignment for this course, this section, etc., the title, once it's created from within Lucid, now I'm going to go into my Canvas course. I'm going to click on the assignments button, or you can add an assignment through modules, whichever you prefer. Name your assignment. And I am not going to use the black L. The black L is for collaborating and viewing. So I, in the rich content editor, could add instructions for my assignment. I'm going to scroll down to my submission type. For my submission type, you'll notice that there's actually a Lucid button. So I'm going to click Lucid as my submission type. Then I'm going to click on my button to open up Lucid. Choose, this was a Lucid chart document. I could just attach a blank document, and I could, in my instructions of the rich content editor, say, create a diagram of the intake process in the ER and leave it up for the students. It will just give them a blank embedded document for them to start from scratch. Or I already have a template, so I'm going to click on my documents, and I'm going to search for that template. I also recommend creating folders. You'll notice here, you could create your course names, and you could be adding all of your templates inside of the folders to make them easier to find. But for this one, here is my assignment that I created. I'm going to select that, and then I am going to save and publish that. So you as the teacher will get a preview. Do not make any changes to the preview. The preview will not make any changes for students. It even warns you here. This is just a preview for you to look at to see. For students, when they log in, let me quickly go into my student account. They will be able to access that Lucid document embedded on the Canvas page, and they can get started right away. So when I go into my course, I go into assignments. Now, when I open it up, that activity I just created is embedded on the Canvas page, just like the collaborative document, except this is my own copy of that Lucid chart document. Is my embedded Lucid chart document. I can start collaborating, adding shapes, completing it. And then there is a large blue submit button in the upper right-hand corner. When I click submit, it goes directly into SpeedGrader for the teacher then to use all the SpeedGrader tools to grade.